Hello, and welcome to J.P. Murray's Association Hustle Podcast. President of the Murray Company, JP's mission is to arm today's associations with insight and strategy to thrive in a progressively complex and competitive business landscape. 21st century associations must move forward with a little bit of hustle and revenue development at their core. Here's JP.
Hey, it's great to be with you today. The topic, best advice ever received. Had a great discussion with our team the other day. I'm going to give you some of their thoughts, and then at the very end, I'll add some of my special spice to the topic. So I'm going to break this down into two areas. One is sales and marketing advice that our team has received over the years. And the second one is more about productivity and personal preparation and things like that. So let's go into sales. First, listen. And the best way to listen is to take notes. Silence is okay. And in fact, after you put the price out there or put the big part of the value proposition, shut up and be quiet. Next guy that talks loses oftentimes. Smile. That's one thing we forget. Smile, especially when you're on the phone. A lot of us have gone through training where they recommend having a mirror for you to look into and smile into as you speak on the phone. It's a great tactic. Kind of corny, kind of makes you uncomfortable, but it's not a bad idea. Negotiations. Really important to identify what is so important to them. What's the most important thing to the other party? What's the most important thing to you? Sometimes you can give things away or offer things in negotiation that aren't really that important to you. So really important to identify what's the most important thing for both parties, and that helps you with negotiation. Establish a meaningful network. I've seen this before. When I've looked to hire someone in sales, for an example, and I go onto their LinkedIn profile and they don't have less than 100 connections. Why would I want to connect with someone that doesn't really care to know people? I'm not sure they would be a very good salesperson if they're not interested in other individuals. Address problems right away. Frankly, it doesn't get better over time. Crises are often problems that were just delayed and delayed continuously. Here's a big deal that we're focusing on in 2021. Phone first. Don't hide behind email. The true urgency and intent is often lost during digital communications. Sometimes it's just best to pick up the phone, friends. And finally, it's always about the prospect and the customer in their voice. Also talk about the solutions rather than the services that you provide. So many times in the association space, for example, I see where it's all about the association and all about the committees and all about what they do. And it really doesn't address how we can help our members or our prospects or demonstrate how we help them save money, how we help them make money, or how we save them with time. So those are some sales best advice tips from the team. What about productivity and just good personal behavior and tactics in the business world? Preparation and research calls in advance. Never wing it, especially in sales and especially in interviews. This was actually offered by my college daughter who's going through the interview process. She always prepares for the interviews, and then she listened to an interview that I was having with someone, and clearly then this person was a professional. They'd been in this game for years. They clearly didn't know me from a man in the moon, and that's not against me. That's more on them. You want me to help you? You want me to hire you? And clearly you don't even know what we do as a company. X that one out. Written communication. Deliver the message in the first and second sentence and then support it through the rest of the document. Very important as people are reading things in mobile and reading emails. Proactive. If you get up and you let everybody take your time, your priorities are not going to be addressed. And often that's because you're not proactive and you haven't determined what your primary goals are. Progress over perfection. One step at a time. Eat an elephant one bite at a time. Perform one activity. Chunk it down so you can keep moving forward. And remember, you probably have the experience, skills, and support to be confident, to be sure in your presentations, in your work that you do with colleagues. Nobody brings your unique talent. Context will now trump content. I heard this the other day. all of the information up until 2003 ever published and content published and viewed and produced until 2003 is now being produced every 48 hours. Now it's going to be all about the context in which you deliver the content and your self-awareness or your corporate awareness. It's the context, not necessarily the content, because everybody's doing content now. Okay, let me start with some of my own personal advice that I've received over the years. Never-ending improvement. And this may come from insecurity because I'm really not that good. So I need to keep getting better and better. So always looking at never-ending improvement. And I've got specific goals every year on things that I want to improve. You're not going to outwork me. It has probably happened, and it still does. But if I've got that as a framework that you're not going to outwork me or out-hustle me, that's a good basis to start from, because that's what keeps me getting up every day, that is a value of mine. Do what you said you would do. That's so simple, but it's so powerful. So many miscommunications and problems derive from someone saying they were going to do something and did not do it. Tell the truth and be authentic. It helped find my calling in serving associations over the last several years instead of being a CEO of an association. I was interviewing with a search committee a couple times, and you know what? I was changing my answer to what everyone else wanted to hear and trying to get hired. Well, obviously it didn't work, but now it's a blessing. And I'm not saying that at all that association CEOs aren't being truthful or not being authentic. They are in very many cases, but I was really uncomfortable when I wasn't unleashing the truth that I felt in my heart. I felt like the best way to do that was to run my own company. Another thing, if you don't have the cash, you won't win the dash. That comes from President and CEO of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Tom Donahue. It's not all about money, but I'm telling you, if you don't have the resources, you're not going to be successful. You must have resources to execute, to achieve your mission, and to meet your goals. Never forget that when you're launching your own company. You've got to have some money to be able to do it. Don't light people up in public. Don't flame them in front of everyone else. It's not worth it. Everybody remembers what you said, not the person that you lit up in the first place. Here's another thing to remember about your communications. If the email that you're about to send was published in the Washington Post, would you be proud of it? So that's some advice for you. Hey, if you listen this long, I'd be pleased to send you a complimentary copy of my book, Association Hustle. Just feel free to email me, jp@murraycompany.com. Thanks for listening, and I can't wait to speak with you next week. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of J.P. Murray's Association Hustle Podcast. We'd love to connect with you. Check out our blogs at murraycompany.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter. You can also connect with JP on LinkedIn and Twitter at JP Murray, as well as the Murray Company's Instagram and Facebook page. To purchase a copy of JP's book, Association Hustle, Top Strategies for Association Growth, go to jpmurray.com.